Hi viewers, we are excited to welcome you to another episode of MR Speaks brought to you by Marketing Raven. I'm Sagar and this is my colleague Mohit. We are your hosts for the day. Today we have with us Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan, an alumnus of IIM Lucknow. Mr. Rajesh is a marketing and brand strategy consultant with an experience of over 18 years in the industry. He has also penned down two books, Marketing Success Formula and Growth Nuggets. A speaker in many business forums, he also runs a creative blog under the name Mindful Marketing Cartoons. Thank you so much for coming over, Rajesh.
Hi Sagar, thanks for having me over for this session. I'm quite excited to share my views on marketing and branding with your viewers and listeners.
That's wonderful, Rajesh. So let's get started. You have been in this industry for 18 years. So essentially, there's always a tricky question that marketers face when it comes to ad spend and ROI. So in the light of releasing technological advancements that we have, how exactly marketers deal with the question of ROI when they have to answer the senior management or etc.
Sagar, if you think of managing ROI or cost from marketing standpoint, it's always better to get into the roots and address it rather than seeing things from superficially as to doing some small optimization and try to reduce your cost. Where the leverage, where you get the leverage actually as a marketer or an entrepreneur is when you design your product and when you think of a market for your product. That's when everything starts. Let me explain this in detail. I'll give you an example. Let's say you run a digital marketing agency and you want to launch a digital marketing agency which helps, let's say, 8, 9 industries to become more social. So you are helping at least 10 companies which falls into 10 industries and help them to get more visibility on social media. That's one type of digital marketing agency. The second type of digital marketing agency, again, they are trying to help companies become more social, but they operate only in the real estate space. Now you understand the difference between these two companies, right? So these two digital marketing firms. When it comes to return on investment on your marketing spend, when we take return on investment, it's not just about spending money on paid media. How much resources you need, how much time you need to acquire new customers. Let's keep all those things under ROI and costs. When it comes to this point, as I have told you, the digital marketing agency, which has a clear focus on an industry, very specific focus on an industry, has more advantage than a company which targets almost 10, 15 industries. The reason is pretty simple. As I've told you, if you go to the fundamentals and see, if you build a value proposition for a very specific audience or an industry, inherently you have an advantage to get customers inside your business with lesser costs. So all the other optimizations which you do will not yield much of return on investment, maybe 1%, 2%. So that's when, even when you build a new startup, when you create value propositions in your business, it's always better, at least when you launch, at least when you cannot afford, at least when you are not a big corporate firm who have multi-billion dollars of advertising budget, it's better to think of having a super specific value proposition for a group of people who earn to do business with you. So that's the real advantage you will have when it comes to reducing your cost or increasing your return on investments on marketing.
Yeah, so Rajesh, thank you. Actually, it's again, as Sagar said, it's always in the mind of a marketer that how to calculate and how to be in that zone of a profitable ROI of every campaign that we run, right? So, Rajesh, we would also want to understand, like you have worked across industries from FMCG to real estate to SaaS startups and setups as well, right? So, we wanted to understand, like when we move into B2B, into SaaS setup particularly. So, what are the marketing aspects that change while we do dealing with the SaaS in comparison to the traditional industries like FMCGs or the real estate ones?
When it comes to SaaS, the main advantage between the particular industries which you have cited, real estate and FMCG and SaaS, is as a consumer, you buy and consume the product, everything online. You don't, it's very intangible. If it is real estate, what you do is you see an ad, go and visit a property, do a physical visit to the property. You can see the property, you can touch and feel your home. So all these things are component of the product, right? So when it comes to FMCG, again, it's a physical product. And lot of other services also, if it is financial services, let's say if it is a bank or a company which offers personal loans, all these are intangible services. But when it comes to SaaS, the intangibility is even more. You consume everything online. From the marketing standpoint, you can market, sell, and deliver your services online without even meeting the customers. I mean, physically. So that's from at the product level. This is one thing which marketers need to understand, because it makes a hell a lot of difference in your marketing strategy. And other thing is, when it comes to pricing, even if you're a SaaS business, you you offer pricing at multiple layers. I mean, at the industry level, you have SaaS. Even if you take social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they are basically SaaS businesses.
Yes.
Everything is built on the premise of SaaS, but they don't charge anything to the users, because the model is there. It's an advertising model. They monetize each and every users. But at the higher level, Salesforce is also a SaaS company, but the cost is huge. The cost of the service which Salesforce provides is huge. So it means they need to have a different level of marketing strategy. Maybe have a great B2B sales team, so that so that when you meet a customer, you explain about the product. So when it comes to marketing, particularly SaaS, the level of, what I'm trying to say is, the level of involvement of the customers is very, very important. As you move up the pricing ladder, you as a customer start thinking more analytical. You ask more questions. So at that point of time, you cannot just run an ad, acquire a customer, and ask them to self-enroll. You call it as product-led, right? Technically, in product-led market, product-led acquisition in GTM strategy. So even if you want to do a product-led, it all depends on the level of involvement of customers with the product. As a thumb rule, if the price goes up, the level of involvement of consumers also goes up. You need a different kind of a go-to-market model for your SaaS business. So basically, to summarize what I have told, number one, SaaS business is primarily technology driven. That's why we see companies offering, even for employees, work from home, work from anywhere in the world. So that's definitely not possible in a company, conventional company like real estate or FMCG company. Number two, when it comes to building a SaaS marketing, sales, or go-to-market strategy, it's essential to keep the level of involvement of the users whenever you design. If you want to build a content-led model, somewhere even mid-segment, pricing would work well for a content driven model. Even for Salesforce kind of business, content driven plus sales led GTM will help. So your question was very generic, so that's why I've thrown light on the broader aspects of things. But again, it all depends on what is the stage of your company. Have you achieved your product market fit? All those things come into play when it comes to a SaaS business.
Absolutely agreed, Rajesh. I think that's a very interesting point that one has to keep conscious of the fact what is the customer involvement in the whole product journey before even going into the marketing strategy. Now, which leads us to another thing that we want to hear your view on. This is a cliche, data is a new oil. Nowadays, do you see the current advertisers and marketers relying too much on data to target their audience? Do you believe that are they being safe nowadays, or how much influence should human factors have in the decision making?
That's the question which I often think about, ponder about. If you notice, 10 years back in the early stage of digital marketing, the main advantage which we saw in digital marketing when compared to conventional advertising is you can do precise targeting, not just at a demographic level, even at the behavioral level, based on your likes, based on your interest level. This was quite interesting value proposition for a marketer, because as much as you know about your customers, not just from their age or where they work point of view, at a deep psychological level, you can create ads, you can position your product offering to them, right? So that was an interesting proposition for marketers. But as the technology grows, today we are in a point where even Google is trying to take away third-party cookies from their platform. Maybe they are postponing it, but they may do it in a year or two. So what this means to a marketer is we cannot depend. There are various types of data. We cannot depend too much on third-party data, because even there are a lot of privacy issues cropping up today, right? From consumer standpoint, a lot of brands have been fined by courts in the Western and even in APAC because of breaching the privacy issues. So that's one thing which marketers need to keep in mind. So which forces us to think more about first party data. It means understanding customers at a more personal level, one-on-one level. If you notice, even prior to digital marketing era, we were doing marketing purely based on some contextual advertising. For example, if you're an astrologer and if you want to acquire customers, where would you advertise? It's simple. You choose a magazine related to astrology and advertise there. The fundamental assumption is very, very simple. You assume that if someone buys an astrology magazine, he's naturally oriented towards more about astrology and want to predict the future. And when you place your ad advertising there, it works like a charm. So you don't need any data as such to do this kind of advertising on content efforts. I think now, since the data privacy issues crop up and marketers are forced to move away from third-party data, contextual advertising will become even more prominent, and it will gain prominence once again. So apart from that, at the mindset level, big data, another aspect of marketing. The challenge of big data or studying big data is it gives us primarily, if you are a customer, it tells me about your purchase behavior, things that you have purchased in your past, and what messages have worked, and all those things. There is no doubt that it gives immense advantage to the marketer. It helps you to micro segment your audience, and then push some relevant messaging and advertising to all these people. You can do cohort analysis and understand what is your percentage of your customers stay with you for a longer period of time. So all these things you can play around. But on the other hand, one thing which will make you even more a prudent marketer is to spend some time with consumers in real time. In Japanese, they call this idea as Genchi Gembutsu. It means go to the place of action and observe the facts. For example, when Toyota launched their cars way back in 2000 for the US markets, what they did is they didn't rely on conventional market survey and research. They sent their core engineering team to the US market. Their engineers, the people who develop products, spent almost 6 to 8 months time with the real consumers. They understood their pain points, interviewed them, really observed them rather than asking some market research questions. They literally spend time on the ground and observe customers, what they do. And you can even see a lot of cases where consumer companies take an extra mile effort to listen to the customers and then use those qualitative insights to build products and marketing campaigns. So that's another way of looking at it. Even if you have big data, the problem with big data, particularly when you're trying to create new value propositions or new products, is it doesn't reveal the emotions of your customer. It doesn't capture the emotions. It doesn't. And that's very critical when you're building something new. So that's when even that is another contradictory point of view, saying that don't look into data too heavily. Don't rely on data too heavily. Go and meet the customers, understand, sense. So another way of seeing this is marketers can spend more time with the customers, even if it gives small amount of data, insights, it will be very qualitative data. So listening to the customer calls, join hands with the sales folks during product presentations, and even why not spend more time in your life as a customer. Go to movies, spend some time with your son on playing video games. So these are the things which open up your eyes to the real world. I mean, I call this as participating in life rather than sitting inside a room and always reading some analytical reports or spending more time with conferences, inside the conferences. All these things we do as marketers. But on the other hand, just being a customer, just going, I've started practicing this. I spend a lot of time with my wife. I go along with her for shopping. I attend a lot of marriages these days. Earlier, I used to be very bookish. I study a lot of concepts. I don't move out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
Another way of seeing the real world and getting more insights rather than relying on data, full-fledged data. Something inside you will get insights, start getting insights intuitively if you go out and observe the world in real time.
Yeah, Rajesh. So just to summarize on this part, I think contextualization and the behavior of the audience will always remain at the top. Rather, data can definitely assure you of, okay, in which direction you have to move. But at the end, it's all the customer you have to connect with. I think that's a great insight to it. Rajesh, we also wanted to move toward the tech part of the advertising right now. So we earlier seen that Salesforce and different CRMs are already there in the market, and this space has been evolving from quite a time right now. So there are too many MarTech, as we call it, the marketing technology, MarTech options present in the world right now. How can the top management be conscious of upgrading that MarTech capabilities, avoiding all the choice paralysis, given all there are many options in the market, to find out what's best for them and what's best that serves to the audience as well? So how to go about it? Then what should be the approach of the market?
See, having a look at the entire marketing technology spectrum, because even I actively advise my clients on how to integrate their customer experience and internal process with the technology. So as you rightly said, you have huge options today in the marketplace, but I'm a big fan of having very less number of vendors and technologies inside a company. I mean, I look for wholesome solutions when I suggest, uh, even when I was working as a full-time marketing head, I always look for wholesome solutions, because the challenge is you have specific problems inside your marketing, sales, and CRM organization, where you can bring in specific vendors for each and every technology solution. On the other hand, what happens is, anyway, they offer integration between through API, but again, the challenge would be having a cohesive view of your customer experience and data. If you have too many platforms, the challenge getting insights about your customers, about your employees, about your marketing campaign might be a difficult task. So at this point of time, in a lot of industries, there are solutions which is wholesome. For example, in real estate, you have some platforms which is wholesome, which can handle the entire funnel and customer experience.
Yeah.
And even a lot of industries offer this wholesome spectrum. So my recommendation or thought process is always an end-to-end solution. And you may add few vendors if they offer some specific solutions. For example, for email, we always depend on MailChimp or some other platform, right? It can be integrated. So that's number one. But when it comes to taking a decision on technology, I think a lot of firms, we need to agree that they are not matured technologically. Most of the firms are in the middle, or even you see a lot of firms, particularly in our country, are in the early stage of the technology adoption cycle. So it means these companies, we need to have a clear view on our process before entering into the technology side of things, and then start slowly adopting. The main challenge today is not just about, we talk about chat GPT and all the other AI technologies, right? So as individuals, we never hesitate to use all these technologies, but when it comes to businesses, they still try to figure out where it fits in to their entire customer experience. That's the challenge. The adoption of tech inside companies is not that fast, and we try to solve things at a superficial level. For example, if you take chat GPT as an example, we talk about how to create content for using chat GPT for content marketing. But AI, if you take AI as an example, it can do a lot of things. How to create breakthrough products, how to, even the first question which you asked, how to reduce cost, how to increase the return on investment on marketing spends. So a lot of strategy things it can address. But we generally focus on very tactical issues and stop there. So when it comes to building, answering your question in a very simple way, when it comes to building capabilities using technology, the number one thing is it should be a top level imperative of an organization, CEO level imperative of an organization. And we should use it at a strategy level, not just doing some small superficial things inside an organization. That would be my request. And number two, we need to look for some wholesome views, wholesome solutions, and bring in some, and if required, we can bring in some specific value propositions to address the challenges. I am not using vendor names or here, or because even the answer which I have shared is very generic and it varies dramatically based on different industries.
Absolutely agreed, Rajesh. I think it's important to understand that just because somebody has enabled a capability doesn't mean that you also have to. You have to be conscious of what is your setup in the industry, what level you're in the market, and probably take your own call. So, with this, Rajesh, we have reached the last leg of our interview. We would want you to suggest, do you have any message for our readers who are going to start their corporate journey? Any do's and don'ts, any potential pitfalls they want to avoid if they want to build a career in marketing?
My suggestion would be based on the mistakes I did. uh, don't be too tactical. That's what I would say. It means um, when you see people who enter into the marketing side of things, they start loving tactics. It means SEO, Facebook, Instagram. So all these are media channels, right? So these media channels evolve. So as a marketer, if you want to build a long-term career, what I've learned is we need to have a strong foothold on fundamentals and principles. These principles will never change even after 100 years. Even your grandchildren will do, if they were to do marketing, they will hold on to certain first principles and fundamentals, right? So
Yeah.
my suggestion would be have a strong foothold on principles and fundamentals. And I'm not against technology and tools. Go and grasp all these new technology and tools, but use these principles on top of these tactics, tools, and technology. So, for example, you could do, if you're a digital marketer, you could do an SEO, search engine optimization for your company. But you should always ask a very broad question from a principal level, like who's my audience? Who's my product? Who's my competition? Why am I doing this? How this will add value to the entire customers, and how will this add value to my marketing organization? That's one thing. And even if you're into SEO, it's better to understand other paid marketing initiatives, how traditional marketing, television advertising works, what is the interlinkage between digital and television. So I think it's always better to have a wider understanding of media, product, competition. Even if you do, I'm not against, if you're a head SEO or if you're a manager SEO, I'm not asking you to quit your job. I'm asking you to have a wider level of understanding, even because all these new tools and technology, if you notice, it's the technology curve is very fast. It grows and it declines very fast, right? So print media, if you take, we have been using print media for a long time, newspapers, and newspapers have started slowly losing its charm, no doubt, but still it exists, and it will exist for in the next 10 years, 15 years. But let's take Facebook as an example. It has grown, it has saturated, it has grown massively and saturated. Now we are moving to a different platform, right? Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. So tomorrow, after 5, 6, 7 years, if you notice, all these platforms would have matured very quickly, and we will be having some other new platforms. So that's the challenge for a marketer. So you need to balance between what's moving fast and changing, and what's not changing for the last, what will not change for the next 50 years, 100 years. Having a right balance between these two will help you to stand out, will help you to think differently from other marketers in your industry or in your PR circle. That's one thing which I always, I wouldn't call that as an advice. I'll share that as a growth mantra for marketers, and I will also keep that in mind whenever I do things.
That's absolutely insightful, Rajesh. Before we leave off, you mentioned that you are an avid reader. So if you have to suggest any one book, because you mentioned that one has to be in roots with the fundamentals of marketing. If there's any one book you want to suggest to our readers, what would that be? Apart from Growth Nuggets, I know that's this thing.
There are a lot of books. The book which I have read recently, particularly when it comes to marketing, right? So you can consider reading Seth Godin's "This Is Marketing." It's a good book. It throws you light into human behavior, basically. It's a good book. I would recommend. So apart from that, my reading habit would be understanding. See, one challenge for marketers is when it comes to reading, we read all the books related to marketing, but it's better to move out of that comfort zone and start reading things on psychology, behavioral economics, leadership, and even technology. One good book which I've read recently is from Kevin Kelly, about technology. I forgot the book name, How the Future Evolves. He shares about 12 key ideas as to how technology will shape human life in the future. So yeah, if you're a starter, you can start something something related to marketing, understanding the pricing, understanding the value proposition. All these are good, but as you mature, become a mature reader, move away from the comfort zone and start understanding social psychology. And even for people, not many of us read books, right? So for people who don't read books, don't need to worry. Even if you're a good acute observer of human behavior, if you go to a mall and see how people, where the crowd is really, why one shop gets more crowd while the other shop is vacant, and even in real time you can observe and learn a lot of things. So if you're a marketer, the world is your playing ground. You can even learn, right? Sitting inside your home, going, even when you watch a movie in your theater, you can learn a lot of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no full stop for learning.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Rajesh. It was very insightful talking to you. Thank you once again for coming to MR Speaks. It was lovely hosting you.
yeah, it's my pleasure to join with you, Sagar and Mohit. Your questions were brilliant. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajesh. It was a pleasure for
Yeah.
us.